overall conduct. So we passed this out to everybody in regards to the updated policy and looking at this code of conduct, see if there's any change that council would like to make or amend within the code. I think it was pretty well spelled out, and we won't go through the whole code. Obviously, we'll just go through and highlight the areas within the code, and if you have any concerns or questions, we can go from there. So the code obviously identifies through the Municipal Act of 2001, the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act, the Municipal Elections Act, the Municipal Freedom of Information Protection and Privacy Act, as well as the Criminal Code of Canada's Act. In those acts, we must follow those as our guidance and our operational aspect for the governance and meetings of councils. Roles and obligations of a municipal council. So role under Council Section 24 of the Municipal Act identifies all the roles of that. And then, of course, there's roles of officers and employees. And then, of course, as a municipality's chief executive officer, that falls on the head of council and the roles of that individual as well, which would be the mayor or the chair from time to time, or again, maybe the deputy or acting mayor would also be in that role. Members of council and the role of staff, and that goes on to identify the roles and relationships that council has with staff. The code of conduct and transparencies and accountability of good governance and ethics of councils. And this is under the Municipal Act Part 5. It practices and procedures and establishes an organization's roles and responsibilities. Then it goes on to talk about the authority that lies within a council's role as a whole and not as an individual member of council, to approve such things as your budget, policies, committee processes, and direct staff, commit to resources and other municipal matters. And of course, when council, we talk about directing staff, we have one staff member as a council, and that staff member is a CAO. And of course, he then manages and operates the municipality with his staff through his managers. And it over the years has been hard for councils, and we've done really good, I think, adjusting to that model. We did in the past have from time to time incidents where we would kind of talk to managers without through our chair and our employee, but I think this council has done really well, and it makes for a good cohesive council at that time, and the information flows in an open manner. There's no guessing and who did what, where, and why, and it's all going as a team and operating well together. Conduct for council and committee meetings, and this goes for this type of meeting as well as meetings you might attend on behalf of council as independent and external boards and committees that represent your interest as a council member, and then bring back, of course, that information through advisory role or an actual direct member of those. Conduct respecting confidentiality of the information, of course, as we know, and going into in-camera sessions mostly for type things as personnel matters, labor relations, litigation, project tendering, and requests for proposals, RFPs, property and acquisition, security of municipal property. Those things are obviously to be held in confidentiality within the room with the members that are in the attendance of that meeting. And from time to time, you'll see councils in the news that those type of things get out from those meetings, and that's where councils tend to get into hot water. And we were just talking about that prior to that. If you're in a room with the confidential discussions or in a closed meeting, that's where it stays. And then you don't have any worries about getting somebody said or he said or she said type scenario out there, especially today with the social media aspect that you can get caught up pretty quickly in those type of things. Also, release of information in the public media, and that usually relays through the mayor or the chair or the acting mayor or chair, and of course through the CAO speaking on behalf of the organization as well. From time to time, the CAO will speak on behalf of council for issues that were passed at a council meeting. Conduct representing the corporate and resources, conduct budgets, working within budgets and resources supporting the community activities. This is to obviously set your budgets and work and talk about how you're going to focus through the year that you're in. Of course, we're going through 2018 and looking at how we're going to focus on the betterment of our community and make sure our budgets are reasonable with the sign of the times. Commitment of town resources. Of course, we know that we have a great fleet of equipment, and we try to keep that updated. And those are the decisions that this council makes from time to time to purchase those capital items. Use of corporate electronic devices, as we all know, we've changed our policy around that in regards to the use of cell phones and and iPads and laptops. They're meant for council business in this chambers, not for personal use. You could use it for personal use from time to time outside the chambers, but not for personal use inside the chambers. They're meant for corporate duties. Use of corporate property, that goes on to talk about the equipment and supplies and services I use, pens and binders and paper. Obviously, we can't take the loader home and do our driveway, and that's why I spelled out clearly that that's not the type of things you'd be using municipal property for. Conduct respecting the election and campaigns, obviously those are things that our deputy clerk will bring to us every 4 years when election is, and how we manage ourselves and how we work within the Elections Act and the rules around that part of it. And of course, conduct in respecting respecting gifts, hospitality, and benefits. Councillors from time to time, mayors from time to time will receive gifts, and if they're of small token, if they're of course of a larger prepared things and trinkets and you know, little things that you can, with the course of business, and you're allowed to under the act that you're entrusted to, of course, accept small tokens of your work within a municipality or an agency or a committee or board, but not to be obviously taking a vacation to the Caribbean on the backs of an individual in the community for something you've done or something. So those are kind of things we all know that we follow those rules, and of course compliance and interpretation of the act and the municipal act. And the act itself is, as we know, is a big Bible, and I'm sure that we've all read it from time to time. Not the whole thing, I'm sure. I know I haven't, but we've gone and used it as a resource manual for something that might pop up. But it's a good tool, and we just, it keeps getting updated as we speak because things change in life, as we all know. I think that's about it. Does anybody have any comments or questions on that that might want to run through CAO? Everything's good?
Yeah.
Right on.
I mean, I guess I've done one.
Councillor Lake?
You know what? I remember the first time I ran for council, I sort of have a pretty good idea of what the roles and responsibilities are. You have a decent idea of what the roles and responsibilities are, but something like that would be nice to hand out in the package for anybody who's thinking of running the upcoming election, because it is quite a clear sort of, here's the thou shalts, because it's not exactly what you think it's going to be when you get involved, right? You think you're going to be, you know, running Music Fest, but it's way more about the governance side of things, and I like the listing of the key things to think about. So I think it might be a nice thing to put out with that election package.
Your Worship, the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing will be holding information sessions again prior to the election. So if anybody is interested in running, they will be holding those again. Okay. Probably well before nomination day.
Good. And as we talked before the council meeting and talking about the way councils conduct themselves, we've been very lucky. This council has been working really good over the last 12 or so years. You know, Chantel is the newest member of this council, but this council has worked well. But you do have councils that really don't work well together, and it becomes a real nightmare in the chamber or room or whatever there are, and there's personalities and conflicts, and when that happens, it really doesn't help the municipality move its business forward in a really good manner. So thank you for that, that we all get along and work together well. It does show the difference of having a municipality that's really progressive and moving forward rather than being negative and fighting about issues within your municipality. So thanks for that. Okay. Up next we have student council reports. Obviously, Councillor Stone will give you the opportunity right off the bat.
So the students have returned from their Christmas holiday, which was very cold. So they'll be getting back into normal school routines now, but soon on January 26th, exams will be starting, so they'll be slowly starting to prepare for that. This Friday we have the winter formal that's going on, and you cannot qualify to go to the winter formal if you skip during the week, so don't skip. So yeah, that's it.
That's good. Okay, Councillor Rizzi, do you have anything?
Okay, so there's a new group starting in the school on Wednesday. It's called Just Us. I'll get more information on that for our next meeting because it's just the first meeting this week. So, yeah.
What exactly is that?
It's being run by Ocean Chinetsky,
Okay.
so I'm not fully aware of what the plan is.
Okay.
I think it's something to do with educating the students about Indigenous.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe if it gets up and off the ground and it's working well, and maybe Ocean or whoever is coordinating the program maybe want to come and do a quick little presentation to council,
Okay. Yeah.
maybe sometime in March,
Okay. Yeah.
if they feel comfortable enough, or through either you or Councillor Wisnik or Councillor Stone.
Okay.
Be nice to have the coordinators of the actual program, though. It'd be nice, so see if they're interested.
I'll bring that up at the meeting.
Good, appreciate that, thanks. Okay, Daryl, report on the corporate strategic plan for 2017 progress report.
Thanks, Your Worship. So, December of 2015, as part of that process, every year we bring a report to council with respect to the progress of the previous year. So for 2017, the key accomplishments from an administrative perspective, completion of the supportive housing complex planning and financing and start of building construction, obviously well underway. Submission of our application to the Natural Gas Access Loan Program for the North Shore Liquefied Natural Gas Project, which we hope to receive word on later this month with respect to the application. Completion of phases 2 and 3 for the Active Living Center and Recreation Complex, which included detailed financial analysis, site selection, updated capital costing, and more in-depth public consultation. Launch of a new town website, which we'll continue to build in 2018. Acceptance into the Ministry of Economic Development and Growth Investment Site Certification Program for the former Marathon Mill site. And this is, I think this is going to be a great project for us in 2018. There's only a select number of properties in the province that are selected into this program. We're one of the few from the northern part of the province. So I think it bodes well to the future of marketing that property. Again, council provided budget support for economic development through the Economic Development Corporation. We had a successful year 2 of operation of the Visitor Information Center through a partnership with Beektagong and our Economic Development Corporation. Continued support for the healthcare professionals recruitment team, which includes the North Superior Healthcare Group, the Marathon Family Health Team, and Barrick Gold. 2017, we supported the Marathon Beautification Group for their community beautification initiative, which I think was very successful. 2017 also saw the completion and installation of new town signage, replacing some which was outdated. We also provided administrative and operational support to the LAV 3 project, which was a big success for the community. We saw a continuation of our council-to-council meetings with Beektagong. We recently, in December, completed the engineering for the Hemlo Drive resurfacing project, which will come forward into the 2018 capital budget. We had a successful project submission to the Clean Water and Wastewater Fund for sewage treatment plant upgrades, which was around $200,000. And any projects identified in the strategic plan for 2018 have been or will be included in the yearly municipal budget as identified by administration. And administration presents this report for council's information.
Good, thanks. Any questions of Daryl on that? Obviously, we know we're working through our budget process for 2018, and we'll hopefully through the election process, whether any of us or all of us will be at the table, we'll work on strategic planning for the next term of council and identify some of the projects and items that we want to carry forward. Obviously, the Active Living Center will be one of the key ones. Hopefully, have the turnkey on the supportive housing. That'll be done, and we can take that off the books, and some other future developments with the mill site. Hopefully, with the investment readiness program, we can tap into the government there. Councillor Lake?
Just a comment, I think for a small organization, you look at that list, and it's pretty impressive for a small community to get that much done, because that doesn't include the day-to-day stuff, right? Like plowing roads and make sure water's running, and so it's pretty impressive to see when you tally it up at the end of the year what's getting done. Very impressive.
No, for sure. Thank you. Anything else? No? Okay. That's pretty short and sweet. We almost got the record there. So there was a few few little things that we could talk about, but we're going to go into in camera anyway. But I mean, as far as the council meeting, we will be doing a budget. I know we're not televised, so we'll try to bring that up. But our next meeting will be the 22nd, and we're going to try to move the budget that day. We'll give heads up for anybody, because most of the stuff was already handed in. Anybody who had any comments? And the library board was one, but no other comments were given to you from the budget process, correct?
No, we had a closing date of December the 21st
Right.
From members of the public.
That was
So
it.
everything we've received will be into the budget package, the draft package that goes to council for the January special
Okay,
meeting.
good, good. So we give the public the ample opportunity, and we did have the one submission from the library board, but nothing else, and then we can go from there. And the 22nd will be the date now of the first draft view of the budget. Right, Councilor Lake?
Question maybe on behalf of the student councilors. Are student councilors invited to the budget meeting?
Of course.
Yeah.
It's
If you're,
pretty exciting.
if you're interested in just,
You know, it is though, because it's where you put your money where your mouth is, right? You say this is what we value.
the meat and potatoes of the year.
Mhm.
It's pretty exciting.
Okay, so we'll make sure you're included in the mail out for the date, which is going to be the 22nd at 4 o'clock by the sounds of it. And we'll be meeting here for a couple hours before council. Okay, with that being said, we need to move in a second to adjourn at the hour of 7:17 p.m. Councilor Lake and Councilor Zingra. Thank you and have a good night. Oh, sorry, we will be going to the in-camera meeting to discuss directly after this public meeting proposed pending acquisition and disposition of land in municipality of local board, also personnel matters about identifiable individual, including municipal local board employees. That will be right after this public meeting.